Thanks for tuning in with me for video number 2 on this 2008 Subaru Impreza. It's got the 2.5 liter. In the last video, we showed you where the head gasket was leaking oil profusely. You know where it was, but we don't know why at this point. And so I'm going to share with you the teardown that I did in order to find out why this was leaking. You got coolant holes and passages all in this little coolant jacket here. Oil flows back to the oil pan through these. It comes in through there. That's where it was leaking. It wasn't what I was expecting, and so I did a whole bunch of different tests that I'm about to share with you. I hooked up compressed air to the cylinder, I cranked it over, I did both of them together, and was just trying to figure out why it was leaking oil like crazy when it was running, but I could not get it to leak oil when I had the camera all positioned because I got the intake manifold off. As you know, Subarus are pancake engines. You got heads on the end of a block, and then you've got a bridge type intake manifold. So with the intake manifold off, you can see down that line. And I tried to line that up and was unable to get that sucker to leak by just cranking the engine over. So I did some risky things. You'll see what I mean here in a minute, but let's get into it.
Brian's Mobile One.
So we're getting her torn into. We've got some of the intake boot and some of the radiator stuff off. You're gonna pull the compressor, mount, bracket, all that stuff off. But pull the battery just to have a place to pull the compressor. Leaving the hoses connected saves you some work, but it also saves you charging the AC and the power steering fluid mess. Alternator, it's in the cab. It's sitting on cardboard. Look at all that oil though. It looks green. It looks like coolant, but nope, oil. With the intake manifold removed, you can easily see this is the head gasket right here. This is where it was leaking from. This is the pressurized oil that comes to here. It looks like there's a gap almost, like the head bolts weren't tightened enough. I think that this has been serviced before, but wasn't serviced properly. I've never seen one leak oil across the top like that. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, it's just not very common, or I'd see it more, I think. We just gotta pull an exhaust manifold, and I think I'm gonna do both head gaskets on this. This one's like corroding. They don't look the same. It looks like one side's been done and one hasn't maybe, but I'm not sure. Might as well just do both. We're here. That's not right. You're not supposed to unplug anything, wire harness or otherwise, if the battery isn't disconnected. So we pretty much went against that. The biggest threat is the alternator wires. This one becomes hot, but it can't really touch anything. This one can, and that would start a fire or immediately start arcing because that's like direct positive to negative. It's like touching the terminals at the same time. I've got a starter switch hooked up. I'll leave a link in the description where you can find one of those. To get this thing to crank over, I just have one on the positive, and then the other one is right behind it on the signal wire. Anyway, it's all hooked up. It should be safe. The fuel stuff isn't going to come on because the ignition's not going to come on. There's no ignition coils even present. They're attached to the intake manifold in the back of the car. I want to record this leaking oil. Let's begin. I'm not feeling any oil pressure. It's taking a lot longer than I thought. One of the signs of a failed head gasket is a loss of compression, and with that same tester you can put that in and see where it's going. So let's do that before we tear it down. This is the oil channel. I just want to see which side, so when I pull this head off I'll be able to inspect it and find exactly what failed. So let's get back to this. I'm going to throw you back in the tripod. I spent so much time for this beautiful shot, and let's see if we can get it. 22 seconds later. Whew. See if that makes a difference. We're on the dipstick. Let's try again. 13 seconds later. It may be that it's leaking between this cylinder here and compression gas or whatever pushing it out there. In theory, I could get, realistically, I could get close to the compression pressures with the air compressor. Let's try it. So this is the spark plug, and it doesn't escape me that I should be able to get compression off of this. I mean, that's how you do a compression test. I think the engine speed is what we're lacking, but it could be being under load that makes it that much happier to go. Okay, so we are hooked up. So compression on this is 150. So it's healthy. I don't have any leaks at the valves. I don't have any head gasket leaks. from the compression chamber. I've never cranked it while putting compressed air to it. I'm gonna learn all kinds of cool stuff from this. So right now we can see one of the valves is open. It's the intake valve. But that one's open the most, and then this one's open just a little. So I'm gonna hook the air up and it should just start flooding a bunch of air out of here.
130.
Now it's going out the exhaust. You see it sucking on my glove. Let's see it blowing on this. No, it's only sucking. That's funny. I've never tried that before, but it's still not leaking where I'm trying to get it to leak, which is really weird. Maybe we didn't have enough pressure to really do anything. What's really baffling to me is that this was sucking in as hard as it was. Naturally, as the piston goes this way, it's gonna suck in air like a syringe. But for crying out loud, if I've got compressed air going in the spark plug hole, it should only be blowing out, is what I thought, because I didn't think that would still be moving fast enough or doing enough to do that. But this is a small diameter, small volume, I guess, and then that's a big volume, big diameter, so it sucks more there. So I pulled all the spark plugs out because that will reduce resistance. Now they'll spin freely because the air can go in and out through the spark plug hole. The one from back here is wet and it doesn't smell like gasoline, so that could be our white smoke that we've been smelling. We're leaking oil on this side and we're leaking coolant on this side, I believe. I had considered on just doing one side because I thought it'd be quick and easy. Somebody screwed up this side, but I'm definitely going to be doing both sides now. I don't know what I'm going to find, but this inspection cover was missing. So somebody's been into this who wasn't real thorough or careful. What if I pulled out all the plugs? Would it go fast enough? That's pretty fast. Nothing. So I got the valve covers off. I went to crack this loose, or at least check where it was at, and it's loose. This head bolt is either snapped off or something else is wrong. I'm gonna try to tighten it first. It is tightening down. Let's try this one. That's tight. Just this one wasn't tight at all. At all. Maybe like the first step and then got skipped on the important ones. Here's the other corner. Getting it loose. I mean, you gotta lean just about everything you got into it to get it to come undone. The other one was just floppity, just complete missed. Basically, somebody didn't have a checklist, wasn't awake. You know, people get tired, things happen. Crazy though. I've never seen that before. Never seen one leak like a sieve out the top and then have a head gasket leak on the other side either. Wonder if this was at a dealership and somebody was new. Oh. Unfortunately, they didn't oil their threads either. I might strip this block just getting these heads out of this. No oil on the threads can result in the wrong torque or corrode together. Too much oil in the bottom of the hole can act like hydraulics and get you stripped out or the wrong torque. Oh, that's a nasty bad sound. Here's high pitch tick. That's what it sounds like when you rip the aluminum threads off. That sucks. There's another one. Sucks. This car's already a salvage title. Or a collision or something. Whatever it was painted badly. It was painted badly, the heads were done badly. This car is hurt. That washer and that washer are both from the motor mounts. They don't match at all. Which means somebody's had this motor out, lost a washer, and did the best they could. When you look at the dog bone that goes to the body, you can see this thing's been creamed and is all rusted. I mean, just like, you know that it's not supposed to be creased where the bolts go through. I mean, this thing's just been wrecked hard, and that bolt got forgotten. I will never forget that. That head bolt was not tight at all. Finding all of this just janky, crappy stuff with this salvage title car. Got all the head bolts cracked loose. Put these out as far as you can get them. So they're against the frame. Pull it as far as you need to clear. Wiggle and lock it. Anyway, you can pull that out without pulling the engine. And that's slick. You can pull that out. I didn't even have to unbolt the engine, tip it up or nothing. And look where the head bolts wind up by the time you're done. So it's got spray gasket on it. It's got all kinds of stuff going on. Mad. And here we look at the head gasket. This little bulge sticking up here corresponds here. Head bolts, all here. You got coolant holes and passages all in this little coolant jacket here. Oil flows back to the oil pan through these. It comes in through there. That's where it was leaking. There's a head gasket right there. I've never seen that before. It's crazy. And they even got the copper spray on it. Everything looks like it's good. Otherwise, it's a little tight. I might have had some coolant come through there. Look how clean this is. Without further ado, I need to get rid of these. They look good. They're stretched good. Oh, fuck. Do you see what I see? That's why this was loose. All the threads are ripped out of it. That sucks. It was not under tightened or not tightened. It was over tightened. It ripped the threads out. Ripping threads out can be caused by over tightening, overheating the engine, the expansion, over oiling the threads and having too much in the bottom in the hydraulic rip, or not oiling the threads at all and rusting and then trying to rip them out. Dang. That hurts. Would you look at that? That's the problem. It wasn't mist, it was mold. Yeah, it just spun. Somebody spun that, putting it together. Remember how I tried to tighten it, tighten down a little? Another theory is that somebody went to do the head gasket and ripped the threads out and then put it back together and then just used extra sealant and extra copper spray and everything they could to get it to seal. Maybe they put it in with an impact. Okay. That makes sense. So here's where the oil leak was. It was coming out of here. I don't think it warped overheating. All this is so perfectly flat. It's so nice. It's just a time bomb because this bolt, that's the worst. Broken bolts, stripped bolts, all that kind of stuff. Just wipe this off for you so you can see it. I don't know if I was put in with an impact gun or what, but that is just, look at this. Dang, that sucks. So if you hold this part of it, you can see it just thread off. I have never helicoiled a block half before. We might have to pull the whole engine block to do this effectively. See how that's coming off? That is the last thing you want to see just about. Aside from a cracked block. I've never helicoiled a cylinder head on a Subaru. Look at that. I mean, that's comical. That's funny. That's funny. Oh, but that's a lot of work. Oh my goodness. This is why it was leaking right here. That hole right there. Doggone. Whoever ripped the threads right out of this knows, because it was finger tight. It was finger frickin' tight. They spun it, called it good, and walked away from it. Unfortunate. It's kind of funny, I guess, in kind of a morbid way. Had some weird gasket maker stuff here. That's probably why they did the gold on it, or the copper spray gasket. It's just kind of some cheap insurance. The rest of the head looks pretty good. I can't imagine this not leaking or not failing, having that be what it is. Oh, now we know. Not what I was looking for, not what I was hoping. I'd rather them just left it loose. Ripping the threads out, that's worse. So that's unfortunate. It's got some weird funky sealant here. It's got some head gasket material here. It's got these little bumps like the head has never been decked, sanded, or anything. So what the heck do you do? Another thing I could do is thread it to a bigger bolt. I'm just thinking outside the box because the scope of what the repair is going to have to be for this is intense, to say the least. This is weird. Let me show you. My guess is the thread on this is 1.25. I mean, that's pretty clear. We put it on here. If it hooks it, then you know it's right, and it hooks it just fine. 1.25 of 10 is right, but it's too fat for that. It's not 10. 12, it's a little bit too big. It's just kind of sloppy. So I can thread it in there, it matches the thread, but look at the play. So you know it's 11 by 1.25, but if you go to 7/16 20, still hooking threads. Thread it in the hole. It's nice and tight. Isn't that something? Who knew that 11 by 1.25 was a match for 7/16 by 20? This is really freaking me out because I have a bad engine block here, but I don't know which side got jacked. This is the side I need. I'm guessing it was this side that went bad on it, but I really don't know. I'd have to tear the whole thing apart. I'd have to put a caliper down in the hole, make sure that cylinder's all okay, make sure the diameters are the same. A lot of work. So final verdict, they glued this on there. This is that yellow gasket seal goop that comes in a toothpaste type tube, I think. There's a big chunk of it right here in the middle of the head. And there's kind of a rim lip of it there, and there's some here. I guess that was holding that together. I cannot, for the life of me, I can't figure out what the history of this car is. I know it's a salvage title. I know it's been wrecked hard, but dang, that sucks. I mean, that's like putting it together with an impact gun. Somebody was in a big hurry. How does a car get to this point? I mean, this head's nice. This is like a brand new virgin material head, but it's got some crazy history. I saw the copper gasket maker, and this used to belong to a family member. They picked it up in another state as a salvage title, and it's got my tag on it for putting the timing belt on it. When I did the timing belt on this, it had a stripped out hole on the water pump, and that was the second one in like 2 weeks. I had that same scenario. It's like whoever put this engine together, dude, they did not use a torque wrench, I'll tell you that. They just stripped all kinds of stuff out. One of the bolts from the water pump was like this as well. That moment when you're sneaking down into the garage because you need to make sure that you got the right size, because you spend $500 on this kit, and then you go to step over stuff and you're like, look at the size of this sucker. It's huge. All right, let's check this out. Stupid thing. I guess these things can strip themselves out if they overheat a little bit. So maybe there's nobody to blame this on. I was looking at broken tap in a bolt channel. So 125, we know it's that. 12 millimeters, 3/8, 10. Doesn't fit in. 12's loose, so it's gotta be 11. Think any of these are actually 11? They are, it's going to be on this. I'm just going to have to stab in the dark. It's 11 and it's between the two. Yeah, I hate that. I want to know a full show for 7/16 anyway. I know it fits in 7/16, but there's no kit for that. Look at this. Perfect. This is why I never get enough sleep, and then I don't film well, and then I go to edit, and the editing's hard because I narrated crappy, and then I go a whole month without posting a video. That's it right here. Metric 11.03. They're pretty much the same. I'm telling you. $100, $500 metric imperial units. Jeez, I'm gonna order it. $500 to do this one thing. How much is the new engine? I love you guys. Thanks for your support for the last 12 years, and we'll see you in the next video for an expensive but brilliant fix.